We're joined now by one of the speakers featured at the Democratic Convention this week, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Governor, always good to have you. Thanks for your time this morning.
Good to be with you, Craig. Thank you.
Mr. Biden last night capping off a week of Democrats making their case, a week filled with stark warnings. Last night talking about this battle for the soul of the nation. We know that he loves the crowd, had to do it virtually. How do you think he did? Did he stick the landing?
Oh, yeah. I think he did a great job. Look, first, as someone who's been before an audience in a situation like that, it's hard without an audience. You know, there's no energy, there's no give and take. So I think he did an extraordinary job. And what I like about it is I know Joe Biden many years. That was Joe Biden. That was not a speechwriter. That was no one putting words in his mouth. Those words came from his heart and his soul. And I thought he captured it very well. This is not a complex election, let's be honest. These are two very stark choices. And they are about character, and they are about the soul of the nation. And they are light and dark and unification and division and lifting us up and taking us down. That's what this is about, this election. Facing COVID and handling this beast after 6 months.
Vice President Biden laying out his plan to respond to the pandemic on Thursday night. Let's turn to the fight against coronavirus in New York. 13 straight days, if I'm not mistaken, with a positivity rate of less than 1%. Schools set to open in New York City, especially the largest school district in this country. Schools set to open in a few weeks. It's the largest school district in this country, you know, outside Chicago, L.A., Houston, who decided to go all virtual. How confident are you that New York City schools are ready to reopen?
Well, look, it is first fingers crossed on all of this, right? But we've gone from the highest infection rate in the United States to the lowest infection rate, as you know. If there's any state that can reopen schools, it's us. We did a record number of tests yesterday, just about 100,000 tests. We test way more than any other state. And we are down at a 0.7 infection rate. So that's very low. We've been reopening for 14 weeks, Craig, and our infection rate actually went down. So you can handle this beast, right, if you're serious about it. On schools, we have the infection rate that says you can open schools. It then becomes a question school district by school district, and it's how you do it. Sure, you can. It's how. It's like when we reopen the economy. You have to be smart, and you have to have protocols in place. And we're working that through school district by school district. And what I've said from day one is if the parents aren't happy and confident, and if the teachers aren't confident, then you don't have a school district reopening, because you can't open a school district without parents and teachers. And we're working through that now. And we'll make different decisions in different districts. But from my point of view, as long as they're safe and smart, whatever a local district wants to do, our infection rate is low right now.
If you had school-age children in New York City, would you send them to New York City public school?
Well, they're still working out what the plan would be. I would have a lot of questions. Parents do have a lot of questions. This is a risky proposition, no matter how you do it, Craig. Let's be honest. You're bringing a lot of people into a congregate setting. Do you have the testing? Do you have the tracing? Do you have the social distance requirements? How are you going to handle it? We've seen schools open. We've seen colleges open and get into trouble in 1 week. So there's a lot of questions to answer before. But that's the dialogue we're having now. And again, if it's not a smart plan, then it shouldn't happen. And we have 700 school districts. I'm sure we're going to have 700 different answers in New York.
Governor, yesterday you signed this bill expanding and protecting mail-in voting throughout New York State. As you know, Governor, the president has continued to rail against mail-in voting, says it's rife with fraud. What do you say to folks who are watching and listening who are concerned about the idea of mail-in voting?
Yeah, I don't get this rife with fraud. I think this is a setup. I think the president is, frankly, anticipating losing on Election Day. And then we're going to hear him say, oh, there was fraud in the election, right? The president is very good at always establishing a conspiracy. I think that's the conspiracy he's setting. We do things through the mail in this country. We pay bills through the mail. We operate through the mail. I think mail-in voting makes tremendous sense, especially now. I don't want people on lines on Election Day when we fought so hard to get this virus under control. So we're making it easy to do mail-in voting. We have now 10 days of voting, so you can vote, mail in a ballot within 10 days. And we also have fear of COVID as a legal reason for an absentee ballot. I think that makes the most amount of sense.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, good to have you, Governor. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks. You too, buddy.